My name is Gabai, and I'm the LCI Israel Chairman and also Senior PM within Intel Construction. Today I'm going to present you an article that Professor Zaks and myself wrote together, which is called Optimized Installation Flow, which is a strategy for substantial cycle time reduction. In this picture you can see my trades, my A&E, and dear friends. And in this picture we are celebrating our 130 project out of 199 that we documented. And we're here to demonstrate that we were able to reduce 94% of the standard duration from 37 days to 2 days and 0.1, 2 days, 1 hour. We did this under a mission based to reduce the construction duration by more than 50% without adding overtime or without adding any resources in the Gemba. Let's see how we did it. So before we deep dive, I just want to share with you the semiconductor construction environment, challenges and unique characteristics. Essentially, Intel Construction is facing fierce competition. We're working in a mission in time to market that is very critical. We do our operation within a live fab. We have multiple projects in parallel. We all endure the 8 types of waste. We're working in many gambas. We have many chemicals, gases, UPW, exhaust. We're having 50 to 7 different utilities for each of our project installations. And we have more than 100 connections per each project. As you can see at the bottom of these pictures, you can see how condensed our gambas are. High purity, process piping, a lot of machinery, a lot of operating fab. All of these introduce us to many undesired project delivery effects. Low productivity, less predictability, bad performance, and often paying for second shift or accelerations, which are all bad. Our team needs to come up with a different idea. We need to think differently on how to bring a better solution for the multiple projects that we're running in parallel. On average, we used to have 25 projects in parallel, which is huge, and we needed a different strategy on how to address this abundant portfolio. Our inspiration came from pit stop, Formula One. Okay, so when you see this picture, and everybody knows the A team that Formula One is having, we can see here a team that is working in a repeatable environment. Each time the car stops, they know exactly what to do. Each and everyone knows their role. They knows what they should be doing at the right timing. Nobody comes 2 times to the car. So if this is the inspiration, then we shouldn't be leaving the Gemba. Once we arrive to the Gemba, we shouldn't leave it. All of our tools, all of our materials should be ready for us, so we can really introduce value and install and hook and connect and introduce chemicals and gases so that we can meet the customer need date. Also, what's very interesting is that when we do not leave the Gemba, we get great results. So this team made it to 2.11 seconds, okay? And we're talking about a gradual incremental growth and faster delivery time over time, okay? So really, how do you touch the project once? This is the essence that we're trying to get into our project life, which are very different in this surrounding. You can see here there's much room, but in our project it's very condensed, it's very congested. So how do we apply this novel into our day-to-day project life and repeat it over and over again? So as you can see, our pit is a bit different. Our pit is project integration team. This is the team that you're working on. And this is, you can see the people with the bunny suit. This is the environment that we live in. This is our home, okay? And we can't introduce more trades over there. Everything is congested. So it's really how to think differently. How can we work and plan and work together to get into the position where we can deliver faster projects in a reliable, predictable, and without compromising quality or safety. So we need a better strategy. OIF, Optimized Installation Flow, has 6 main origins. First is the portfolio process operations, the PPO model introduced by Professor Zaks, my co-writer. Strategic project leadership, the diamond approach by Professor Shenhao. Of course, lean construction and LPS, the last planner system. By Dr. Eliyahu Goldratt, we have the theory of constraint. And from PMI, we have the benefit realization, management, portfolio management, and program management, 3 great standards. On top of that, as you can see here, supply chain excellence, we learned a lot, I learned a lot from my trades capabilities. They know how to deliver goods to site. They know how to install, connect, and introduce best projects to install operation. But we need to synergize their know-how with the methodological and planning and integration into one holistic package. This is the challenge. So this is, the OIF is really an integration of 6 big domain rich and something that we can all take to our projects. So let's take it one by one. So this is the OIF flywheel. As you can see, we have 7 different principles. In the outer circle, you can see the strategic integration and planning, and that hosts or integrates all of the other 6 principles. Also, only by applying these 7 principles, and we learned it by trial and error, we experimented, we worked with the trade, we worked and calculated and have had our pluses and deltas. What we learned that only by maximizing these 7 principles, we can really reach good results, above 50% of schedule reduction, time over time over time. And this is by maximizing the project flow, the trade flow, and the location flow. So we need to keep in mind that if we don't address all of these flows in parallel, essentially one would be at risk. So this is really the connection between the PPO model and the OIF. So let's deep dive into each and every principle before we get to the results. So the first result is the strategic integration and planning. It's the really how do we achieve the alignment between the goals for each project and its available resources, whether it's time, money, available or critical resources, machinery, and how do we develop and articulate to ourselves what is the project strategy? How can we win this project and do it over again and again and again? This stems from the Reinventing Project Management by Professor Shenhao, and it's really encapsulates the entire OIF framework. How do we strategize, even at a tactic level, how to win and deliver better results? The second principle is the target tactical planning. So we all know that when we're using last planner, by trial and error, we get always to the standard duration because this is what people are familiar with. This is what they know. If we don't, as steering committee, working with the trades, introduce some target that we can explain, we can articulate, and give them the tools to take that target and apply it, we will forever be in that sequential mode. We need to break the sequential and get to a more parallel activities. So it's really that the target constrains the pool plan, and this is the only way that we can get into the innovation, that our trades can feel, okay, there's something different, how do we need to operate differently? The third principle is a collaborative process. And by collaboration is how do you set the strategy, how do you set the target, how do you build a pool plan, how do you run the pluses and delta together? I have 2 different electrical trades. When I'm having my pluses and delta, I bring both of them. At the beginning, they thought I was trying to compete with them. And soon they learned that I'm trying to improve both. So only by nurturing and facilitating a collaborative learning environment, we can really overcome the obstacles and really flourish together. The fourth principle by Eliyahu Goldratt is really the constraint management. And when I mean constraint in this principle, I'm integrating 2 different levels of constraint. What is the overall constraint? It could be that we have a scarce trade with orbital welding that we do. In our process piping, it's very challenging to have good orbital welders. It could be machinery. It could be access to our Gabai, which is very congested. It could be cash flow, because one of the trades, have issues. We need to understand the environment from a strategic perspective and then have a deep dive on the constraint for the task level. So we need to think about both of them in parallel. Our 5th out of 7 principle is a prefabrication. As I mentioned before, in order to allow the trades to be more profitable, we need to take most of the work outside of the Gemba. We need to encourage them to do the work in a risk-free environment. If they can apply the same work, doing it in the workshop, in their fabrication, in their factories, and get to us as much finished good as possible and just connect it rather than weld it, everyone will be working and making more money. Us as owner, we can shorten the duration, and we can even avoid risk and have better quality work because we can do the inspection and the quality in the shops. So it's really important to how we can maximize the prefabrication. The sixth principle out of the 7 is really to control the installation project start. So once we acted upon the previous 5 steps, it's really when do we start. And we shouldn't start the project because the schedule or the Gantt says, yeah, you should start tomorrow. We should start only when we have all the predecessors and all the constraints and all of the things that we can think about from previous learning, we remove them completely. Only then, once we start, we can really do it fast, but do it in a very qualitative manner, in a quality manner. Okay? We call it a sound project or having the full kit of the project, not at the task level, but at the project level. This also, controlling the installation start, helps us also reduce the work in progress. Only by reducing the work in progress, we can make sure that we're really committing our resources, all of the resources, to meet a timely project cadence, manage that velocity. The last principle is really the installation flow. So once we adhere to all of the 6 principles, it's really, we have no excuses. The project will start, we identify all of the constraints, we removed, we maximize the prefabrication. Now we just need to make sure that every day, every hour, we're keeping to our plan and making sure that we can facilitate decision making if there's something bad that's going on, any surprises that we couldn't foresee. Now, as I shared with you, we've done 199 projects. We did it from July 18th to December 2019. And essentially, we were running 3 generations of projects. So before I deep dive into this chart, let's talk about what is a schedule reduction in percentage. So as you can see here in this example, we have 37 days of standard duration, which is in red. We put a target in yellow, which is 3, and we ended up doing it 2.5. That means that we omitted or reduced 93%. So when you can see here in this chart, when we have on the axis here 0%, this is the percentage of schedule reduction. That means that if we are 0%, that means that we met our standard duration. If we are on the 50%, that means that we shorten it by half. We had 50 days, we did it in 25. So we did that in order to have apple-to-apple comparison between all of the projects, and we had a lot of projects in flight. Okay, so what you can see is that throughout from July 18 to August 19, we had two different approaches or generations. As you can see in the blue, we had the last planner plus 2-week buffer. When I joined the team and managed this sub-program, I said, guys, we need to have 2-week buffer. That's what I knew from previous experience. And still, as you can see, the blue line fluctuates between minus 20% and 20%. That means that we were late and we were ahead, but we don't have any solid understanding why. And again, it's last planner plus 2-week buffer, and we were still late. We were still getting surprised. The machine was not working perfectly. We were missing some elements. But in parallel, we did recognize opportunities to apply partial OIF to our portfolio. So you can see great results in October, where we hit 80% to some of the average of the project, and you can see less. And really, we started crafting the principles and understand and learn and discuss together how can we be better at it. So the third generation was really to have an all-in, not some of the project doing last planner in 2 weeks and just partial, the whole in. We're doing 100% all OIF, trying to really plan everything and get in the alignment with the trades and the A&E and really exhaust the planning so the performance will be flawless. And I'm happy to share with you, as you can see in the dark, in the green to the right of the presentation, that we got great results doing it. Showing the same data but just in a different format, just to show the variance. So you can see that just by using the last planner and 2-week buffer, we had a project down there that's 48% late, and that was acceptable at that time because this is what we could deliver, and we were one of the good teams, you know. But once we experimented and tested the partial OIF with the last planner in a 2-week buffer, we learned that there is a statistical significance between the two. So that means that we're doing something different. And even when we went all into the strategic planning, we saw similar results. And you can see here that the partial OIF calls for 48% of reduction, and the strategic planning calls for 42. So they're not far off, and they are clearly demonstrating that the flywheel of the optimized installation flow is viable. So this is great results, and I'm really proud of the team to really demonstrate that capabilities. To conclude, and I'm going back to my favorite picture, it's all about the people. No machines, no robots can do that, no drones. In our very congested area with multiple changes, it's really about the people working together, collaborating, speaking up even when things are tough, and really working together as one team. And they trust each other. They trust each other to help, to point out where there's an issue and solve it together as a team. That's the beauty, that's the harmony that encourages me day after day, that fuels me up. Also, what we learned is that last planner is not enough. We started with last planner, we're working with it, but it's apparently not enough. We need some governance of portfolio and strategy to tie it all together. If we don't have it, it just wouldn't be enough. We also learned that OIF, Optimized Installation Flow, is essentially an integrating operating strategy. That means that we really can deploy it for other construction, not just in Intel for tool installation or hooking up. You can do it also for greenfield when you start up a new factory. You can take it to more base build. You can take it to other project realms. And it's really those 7 principles are universal to some extent and can be translated to other project domains. We also learned that the process, portfolio, operations, that Professor Zaks, that's the model that he shared with us about the 3 flows, is really the what. And really OIF is really the how, and they're synergizes together, and they work very nicely together. On top of that, I'm presenting to you in June, and in July we will present that in the conference. But since December 19th throughout June, this last six months, I'm happy to report that we were able to deploy it elsewhere, which is a great news. We were able to deploy it in another site, not in Israel, but in Arizona site, a twin factory, and they also demonstrated same results, averaging 50% of construction duration without adding acceleration, just by planning, integrating, working together, using the 7 principles. So we learned that it's really transferable, and that gives us a lot of good feeling that we really nailed those 7 principles. Also, during this year and a half that I reported to you a few minutes ago, I'm happy to share that also other functional area, other peers of mine also adopted this methodology. I'd like to thank you all for listening, and just a real quick one to thank all of the fine gentlemen and women that helped me throughout this journey and really helped me shape the message and get really good with how do we do projects and invigorate the art team. Of course, my wife, Dr. Gabai, believing in me, pushing me to innovate, explore, and collaborate. My co-writer, Professor Zaks, for mentoring me in LCI, Israel, And throughout this paper and many more to come, Professor Aaron Chenar, who partnered with me and taught me the essence of strategic planning and why it's so important for every project. My manager, Vered Leshem, for supporting me throughout the experimentation within the organization and giving me the real good guidance on how to do that and introduce new change to the organization. Mr. Nate Henshaw, my mentor, he is helping me and believed our team and then took it to the worldwide of Intel, outside of Israel, and sharing that goodness and helping me articulate that in a more precise way. Shai Golan, my leader, who offered me this role and said, I expected you to do things differently. I expect you to lead a team and do things differently for Intel. And I'm here to share with him that I believe we did a great job, all of my team. And Dan Doron, my guru, I've been working with him for the last 15 years, for believing in me from day one and steering my career to apply that strategic thinking on top of my PM capabilities. Thank you all, and I hope you enjoyed the article.